Hi, my friends. Welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm DC Gomez, your host, and also an indie author. I'm thrilled you're joining me today for another fun interview with a passionate author. We're going to kick off this show with an exciting reading, so let's get started.
Hello everyone, heartiest greetings. My name is Azeem Uddin and I am a published author of 3 books, namely Deep Realization, Perfect Goodness of Ghost, and Unbelievable Transformation. Today, in this podcast, I would like to read out the first chapter of my third and latest book, that is Unbelievable Transformation, to just give you all a heading start and a sneak peek about my book. So let's get the ball rolling. So here the chapter 1 is Unbelievable Transformation. Sunday dawned a hot July day. In scorching summer, Mr. Anomish Jem Jovia, an environmental scientist, a man of honor, was on the way to the airport to fetch his boon companion, Mr. Kellen Joff, who was coming from his native country after 2 years to meet his friend. The airport was about 14 kilometers distant from Mr. Anomish's home, so he speeded up the car. The heavy traffic detained him for half an hour. Eventually, he managed to get to the airport in time. Mr. Kellen's flight landed at the desired time safely. They both briskly exchanged greetings and followed the way to Jovia Mansion. By the time they reached Jovia Mansion, the sun had completely set. It was a peaceful Sunday evening. The warm, favorable atmosphere added to the feeling of serenity. Jovia Mansion looked impressive as it was newly constructed with marble floor, spiral staircase, long hallway leading to the courtyard, large wooden double door, and royal outdoor hanging lanterns. Mansion's interior was just as unique as its exterior. The house, with great charm, elegance, and style, created visual excitement in the mind of Mr. Kalinjoff. Jovia Mansion was like a palace-inspired house. Mr. Kalinjoff, a big-boned, enthusiastic sportsman of 47, with a lot of tattoos on his body, was captivated by the interior design and decoration of the house. His arrival caused a flurry of zeal. Mr. Anomish's family comprised of 5 members in all, including his better half, Mrs. Andy Jovia, a promising dietitian by profession, a woman of refinement and gentle manners, his eldest son, Azeem Jovia, a boy of 15, his another descendant of 13, Fobdi Jovia, and last but not the least, his only daughter, the dearest one in the family, an adorable female, Sam Sherivi Jovia. But the family friend, Mr. Kalinjoff, was about to stay in the Jovia Mansion for 2 months to spend his holiday break so as to enjoy 3 indispensable hours: rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation. His luggage was delivered to the guest room. The dwellers of the house gave a cordial salutation to Mr. Callan. Being a camera lover, Mr. Callan captured some mind-blowing shots of the antiques and art pieces that were tastefully decorated inside the house. Mr. Anomish took his friend to the living room that was painted in pastel shades of light grey and blue, creating a calming interior. At the corner side of the living room, an aquarium containing large species of fish and aquatic plants was placed on the wall shelf. Jovia's feathered friend Canary was caged in a large wooden enclosure on the other side. The hi-hello talk continued for a few minutes with Mr. Callan. Peach mocktails and light snacks were served by Mrs. Andy Jovia. Azeem started twanging a guitar to entertain his guest. Being an athlete, Mr. Callan asked Mrs. Andy to share some diet plans and nutritional tips for healthy living. She gave him plenty of healthy eating advice that could help him to implement a well-balanced eating plan. The cute tattoo on Mr. Callen's hand grabbed instant attention of Fobdy, and he tried to find inspiration and encouraging value from that quote tattoo. The tattoo quote was, "Be the motivation, not the distraction." It is true that quotes bear a positive and inspirational value, and tattoo art is one of the best forms of self-expression. Mr. Callen explained the deep meanings of all the tattoo quotes that were on his body to Fobdy understandably. Mr. Anomish was in seventh heaven on his best friend's arrival. The following conversation took place. Azeem Jovia. "Dad, now Callen uncle will stay with us for 2 months. So can we go together on an expedition for some change? It will be great fun." Mr. Anubis Jam Jovia. "Not a bad idea. No doubt, we need to work hard to achieve our goals and accomplishments, but once in a while, a break can placate oneself and one can feel motivated to work harder and better later. But what should be our place to visit?" Mrs. Andy Jovia. "Yeah, you are absolutely right, my dear. I am also fed up with my overpacked schedule. Children are also having their summer break. It is high time to make a summer vacation plan." Sam Shirivi Jovia. "I think this time we should go on a voyage for pleasure, relaxation, and sightseeing. In fact, we should spend a couple of days on the island in the middle of the sea, as we have not undergone a sea journey yet." Mr. Anobis Jovia. "Okay, so it's final now. We are going on an island tour next week. We will have a great time there. Now, keep your worries aside and your spirits up." Sam Shirivi always wanted to go for an island vacation, so she was as pleased as Punch about the trip. That excursion was going to be a dream luxury vacation for her. Controlling her happiness, being a meritorious student, she departed to her study room. The air was filled with overwhelming happiness and cheer. An island tour was planned by the Jovia family to experience the flavors of the island in the true sense. As the evening sky grew dark, at 9 p.m., international cuisine was served at the round dining table in the modern dining room. The glamorous chandelier lights were hanging and sparkling from the ceiling of the dining room. The dining room looked ultra lavish with its white tablecloths, bright silverware, and plain blue walls. Food plating and presentation provided visual appeal to the diners. After all the food arrangements were made by an experienced and skillful cookwoman of the house, Mrs. Asenia Deck. All enjoyed the global cuisine. After experiencing the full measure of Jovia's amiability for the day, Mr. Callen thanked them for their instantaneous and embracing hospitality. After evening meal, children started to solve jigsaw puzzles to improve their reasoning skills and abstract thinking. On the other hand, being health conscious, Mr. Anomish and his friend went for a post-meal walk where they discussed about the prerequisite knowledge for island tour and about the material possessions that they should carry with them on their travel. The day ended on a happy note as the inhabitants of the Jovia mansion were all juiced up to get up close and personal with the rich island life. Next day, at sunrise, radiant sun looked like an orange-flavored cake. Canary started her dawn singing inside her cage to give a tough competition to all the birds who were creating dawn chorus in the sky. At 7 p.m., Mr. Kallenjoff returned to Jovia Mansion after doing intense workout at the fitness center. Sweat was exuding through the pores of his skin. Jovia family and Mr. Callen breakfasted on scrambled eggs, grilled tomatoes, baked beans, oat cakes, and nutritious smoothie. Aquarium lover Azeem started feeding the aquarium fish with fish pellets. After morning meal, Mr. Anomish went to visit coal power plant on the outskirts of the city to test the area's air quality. But unfortunately, he was distraught at the poor air quality leading to air pollution. He decided to conduct scientific studies, prepare reports, and to develop management plans to make the plant environment friendly. The release of harmful gaseous pollutants from the chimneys and disposition of toxic heavy metals in waterways were disrupting the ecological balance of nature. All this provoked Mr. Anomish to increase public awareness of the issue. So, he conducted a conference with his colleagues in this regard. It became a fruitful conference as the right blend of people attended it, including him as the chairperson with an agenda of environment conservation. It is absolutely correct that if conservation of natural resources goes wrong, nothing else will go right. In the mid-afternoon, all the three children of the Jovia mansion with two neighboring friends went to the nearby newly opened amusement park. They sat in a rooftop cafe where they enjoyed delicious donuts with cold coffee. The amusement park contained different types of rides such as roller coasters, Ferris wheel, log ride, carousel, drop tower, bumper cars, swinging pirate ship, etc. Their first ride was roller coaster. They also took pleasure of fear-inducing water slides to beat the summer heat. As summer is the season of outdoor fun, sunshine, and stifling heat, taking delight at water park can be a summertime trick to stay cool. The two neighboring boys had coaster phobia, so they went for boat ride in a river pool. They also transported themselves to the water show arena. The water show that lasted for almost 25 minutes was a breathtaking presentation of water dance and light and mesmerized the onlookers with its dancing water fountains, colorful visual arts, multicolored lasers, inspiring orchestral soundtrack, and spatial lighting effects. Azimes, Fobdi, Sam Shirivi, and the two other boys were also enthralled by this state of art. They found it so captivating and enlightening that they all promised themselves that they would again take their seats at that amphitheater to explore the majestic beauty of colored water. On their way back to home, they bought candy floss and rock candies from a high-class confectionery shop. Mr. Anomish also returned from the conference. Fobdi prepared a detailed account of their theme park visit that became a non-stop fun ride for them and got real sense of satisfaction from writing down his thoughts. In the twilight, Mrs. Andy started watching her favorite web series, a supernatural thriller featuring dark fantasy of a witch. The series was garnering stupendous rating because of psychic genre. There was a magnificent sunset that evening. Mr. Callan enjoyed the mood-changing sunset with a cappuccino and caramel slice from the terrace. He also made a call to his wife on his cell phone to know the welfare of his family. With sheer elation, he told her about their travel plan of island tour. She responded as under, "We are missing you too much. Enjoy your stay there and may you have a safe journey. Have fun and unlimited entertainment. Convey my regards to Jovia family. Love you. Bon voyage. Have a good trip." Mr. Callan got misty-eyed by her emotional voice. That day, Mrs. Asenia Deck was on leave, so Mrs. Andy ordered continental food from an eatery for supper. All dined well with a grateful heart. That night, after dinner, Mr. Anomish and his friend started playing chess as Mr. Callan was a versatile chess player who had won most of the championships in the game. To get a crowning achievement in the chess tournament was a cakewalk for him. In fact, he had taught Mr. Anomish how to play chess. That's why Mr. Anomish always wanted to play chess with him to get better at chess or to become a chess champ by knowing all the tips and tricks of the game. On the other hand, Mrs. Andy was blissful and nervous at the same time as there was her book launch ceremony the next day. She had written her first book on health and nutrition titled Healthy Eating, Need of the Hour. In her book, she had included all the necessary details about smart eating habits, diet tips, eating plans, essential nutrients, food facts, and nutrition advice. As a dietitian, she had tried her level best to encourage people towards super healthy eating through her printed work. Invitation letters of the book release function were already sent to the selected people specifying date, venue, and time. The same night, Mrs. Andy was sitting on a swivel chair and was thinking about her book. When Mrs. Andy was lost in her own thoughts, she heard some strange sounds from the kitchen. The time was 2:30. She did not pay attention to the initial noises, but when subsequent noises were noticed by her, she tried to investigate about the same. The sounds were so unpleasant that they compelled her to step towards the kitchen to look into the matter. She was a little bit terrified as well. As she entered the kitchen, she saw something unexpected. She saw Fobdy sitting on the kitchen countertop eating apple cinnamon muffins. Mrs. Andy also understood the source of the sounds when she saw the dropped plastic containers on the floor. In a hurry to satisfy his hunger, Fobdy had created a terrible mess in the kitchenette. He gave a surprising look to his mother and apologized for his mistake and inconvenience. Irritatingly, his mother called him a midnight sneaky snacker and departed to her bedroom. Next day, in the morning, members of the Jovia family united to make all instant preparations for the book launch ceremony at the venue. The venue for the function was a public auditorium that Mr. Anomish hired or booked. The venue was pretty much appropriate for the event. Awesome dignitaries, relatives, friends, colleagues, bloggers, journalists, and esteemed guests gathered for a noble cause. Mr. Callan was attending book release function for the first time, so he was very much curious about it. The event started at 11 a.m. with the welcome song played by the orchestra. After that, Mrs. Andy extended a gracious and convivial welcome to all the people present over there.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Minds of Authors. Today, we have the talented Miss Azeem directly from India talking to us about his third book. So we're totally excited to have you here. Welcome, sir. How are you today?
I'm good, ma'am. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm so happy you join us. So let's get right into this book. You said this is your third book. Can you tell us a little bit what the book is all about? What gave you the motivation to write it?
Yes. So it's always invigorating and stimulating to talk about the book as an author. It's my third book. Even in this lockdown period, I have written this book that is entitled as Unbelievable Transformation. So basically, it is an urban fantasy and a gothic fiction characterized by atmospheric, evocative setting, featuring handsome, brooding heroes and heroines that are dealing successfully with life-threatening menace. To sum up, I can say that it is just a thrilling tale of suffering and survival.
Like those combinations. That's an awesome situation. So what is the premise of this book? Give us just a little bit without telling us the story.
This book is an arresting blend of profundity, life skills, and pragmatism, and it can serve as a reminder to people that self-transformation is all about the mastery of the self and awakening of one's higher potentials. If I would like to brief up, then I would say that its main theme or message is that tough times never last, but tough people do. The ultimate theme can be also about self-transformation. That I have heard one quote about self-transformation. Self-transformation is all about the mastery of the self. So it is the main message of the story. Another message can be that even callous and hardened criminals can also mend their ways and they can also transform themselves. So the whole storyline is just all about self-analysis, self-introspection, self-realization, and just becoming a better version of themselves.
What motivated you to write this book?
And all my three books are just fictions. My first book was Deep Realization, that is an emotionally charged story. That is a micro tale, I think. And my second book is a ghost story, that is Perfect Goodness of Ghost. So when I was done with my two books, then I was just getting an idea, proper understandable idea that I have to write an extraordinary genre now. That's why I just chose this gothic fiction. This is just a story of adventure of and traveling. The whole voyage, the whole sea journey is getting portrayed in this story. It's all about rich family who is tormented and they are tortured by shape-shifting pirates. They can change their form anytime, anywhere, according to their will. So those pirates attacks this family, and how the family come out of their clutches and what led to the human transformation of those pirates. The climax of the story is that pirates are becoming a better human beings afterwards, at the end, at the later stage. So this is the entire storyline is partially negative, but after all, ultimately it is becoming positive, and it is portraying a message of self-transformation and righteousness of mankind.
I like the fact that you're combining very practical themes that we can use today with a very fantasy undertone. So you got the storyline of the fantasy and the adventures, yet you still have practical themes that you're trying to get people to see. So I love that combination.
Yes, thank you so much.
Is this a standalone book, or are you doing a series out of this? How will you put this?
Well, as of now, it is available as an ebook also, as a printed version also. But it is, as I said, that it is all about a journey, a voyage. So yeah, in the long term, at the later stage, I can think to release its edition 2 also. Because this is the genre in which, as an author, I can also enjoy. I can also feel that charm, that vigor whenever I am writing.
That is exciting. It is always fun to have series, and people always connect with them. When you were writing the book, who do you thought was your main audience? Who were you writing this book for?
So this book is basically for bohemians, for wanderers, for explorers, because personally I'm also a travel enthusiast. I travel a lot. So those kind of people will really appreciate this book. They will have a greater feel. They will experience that proper elegance and style. If I talk about the message, the underlying theme or message, then it is not person specific. The message is a social message of self-transformation.
You have a very fun audience that you're targeting that will actually really enjoy it. And I like the fact that you have the fantasy and the fiction, and it can be open to anybody who enjoys fantasy as well. So we're going to switch a little
Yes.
gear, and we're going to switch a little bit away from the book and more into you. So tell us, how long have you been writing for?
Well, I started writing 1.5 years ago, the second year of graduation, because recently I have just completed my BTech in Computer Science and Engineering from Galgotias University, Noida, in India. So from my second year of graduation, I got into this writing field. From my schooling days also, I have been a very academically sound student. And I had always appreciated literature, its nuances, the writing styles. And when I got into college, then I started, because I am also a researcher. I write research papers, I write technical papers, I present them in national and international conferences. For that, I have also been awarded as the Best Presentation Award in one of the international conferences. So I think this writing style, this fondness started from research paper, from being a researcher. I started writing research papers, and then it's got switched into this writing field.
Absolutely exciting, sir. I am so glad. What motivated you? I know you said you finished school, you were teaching, you have great presentation skills because I've seen some of your videos. What made you decide I'm going to start doing fiction? Because that's very different than doing nonfiction work.
I know that there are two categorizations of books that are fictions and non-fictions. And fictions are the books that have that kind of imaginary and catchy storyline. When you are writing fictions, then of course we have to create an entire imaginary world. a fantasy world for ourselves. I talk about the non-fictions, then they are just all about they have that kind of inspirational and motivational value. Why I decided to take up fictions is that in that I can also enjoy, because I thought that I have that kind of imagination skills, I have that kind of thinking ability, so I can connect a proper storyline with the social messages also, that people can relate to their personal lives to get better. And one thing that is extraordinary in my books is that all my three books are fictions, but even then you will have inspirational message, you can have a proper motivating message also.
Great. In your journey to becoming a self-publishing author and putting books together, what is the one lesson you have learned?
The lessons that I cherish here is, now as an author or as a young emerging author, then patience is very must in this field. Patience and your self-discipline, your writing, your written communication skills, they are must. And of course, ultimately, I would give more emphasis on the message, because generally it is preferred that all the literature provides us messages. That's the charm, and that is the extraordinary thing that I really appreciate about literature. And even I am also fascinated by this idea that literature has to provide us messages that we can relate in our life and we can get better. But of course, yes, that is one thing that I would say, that one has to be patient in this writing field. It is not a one-day task that you will get a fame in this book, you will become a self-published author. You can do it, but yeah, you have to follow a very self-managed and self-optimized approach for that. And it will take proper, definite time also.
So I love your advice. Patience, self-discipline, be able to commit. Those are things that people definitely, especially aspiring authors, could definitely put into practice. What are you working on? What's next?
Now I have to write a non-fiction. I am trying to take up something different now from these kind of imaginary or fictitious ideas. So now my fourth book will be based on a personality development. In that, it will be just a hardcover. It will be a thick book. It will be a lengthiest book of my all the books. So it will be all about personal effectiveness, personality development, work ethics, how we need to carry ourselves physically, professionally, and what are the basic hard and soft skills required for people in their life to lead a well-balanced life. Because as I said, I am also a researcher, and I have written one research paper on this factor also, that how we can lead a well-balanced life in 2020 and beyond. So this was the research paper that was recently published in January 2020. So that is my next motive, and that I am thinking that I will release in 2021 very soon.
You are one busy man, and that is an amazing self-help book that I'm sure people are going to enjoy and appreciate. Do you have a favorite author?
My favorite author is William Shakespeare.
That is very exciting. Anything specific about the master that actually gets you happy about?
If I talk about William Shakespeare, then all his compositions, he take up very small things, very small attributes about objects, and then he had a habit to transform them into a larger thing. So that aspect I really love about him, that I really cherish, I really adore, that from taking a smaller perspective, he can go to a larger perspective. And even this thing I have also applied in my books. So if I talk about international author, then he is my favorite author. As for Indian authors, R.K. Narayan. I love R.K. Narayan's compositions also.
You have a very diverse selection of what you like. I appreciate it. What is your favorite part of the writing world?
So my day one task that I really love is developing a setting, proper setting, development of my characters, their personal attributes, their physical attributes, their habits, how I'm going to portray them, what will be my primary characters, what will be my secondary characters, tertiary characters, all these things that are supporting to the storyline. Developing these things I really love a lot at this initial phase. And having my plot, conflict, because conflict is also necessary in books, otherwise the story will be very boring. So these are the 5 factors: theme, conflict, plot, characters, and message.
I like character development. I like your setting development. That sounds exciting. Are you ready for us to switch now, sir? You ready for a lightning round?
Yeah.
Fun, easy, don't think too hard on it. We're just going to go through it, whatever comes into your mind. So here we go. Winter or summer?
Winter.
Nice. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek.
Okay. DC or Marvel?
DC.
Favorite type of music?
Soothing music.
Last one. Let's see how you do here. Give us one word that best describes you.
industrious, and hardworking.
Those are very, very nice. Okay, sir. So tell us, where can our listeners find you?
I am very socially active. You can find me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, on Facebook, everywhere. But yeah, if I talk about my books, then my all the three books are on Amazon, Kindle, as a paperback also, as an ebook also, and they're also available on Notion Press as well. As an extension of courtesy and gentle manners, I would like to say, if anyone, after watching this kind of podcast, if anyone is just approaching any kind of help from me, then they can reach out to me anytime.
I'm glad that the offer is there to any of our listeners who has any questions. Definitely pay attention for the up and coming nonfiction book that is going to be exciting. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been such a pleasure. And to our listeners, go ahead, give this podcast a like. Go ahead, tell a friend, share with somebody. Make sure you explore, give us a review. It has been an honor. And everybody, will see you again next week in another exciting episode of Inside the Minds of Authors. Bye, everyone.